Hey guys, Tech Sales Bilal here. Just wanted to make a quick interview with a good friend of mine, Chris, as well as an ex-student. So he's not just a friend, he's also an ex-student. Just to give you guys some perspective and some background and some context. So my name is Bilal. I've been in sales for about 6 years, tech sales for about 3 years. I went from a 30K a year sales job to a 250K a year tech sales job in the AI industry. And then I created a coaching community to teach other people about tech sales and to help them change their lives. I have one goal in mind for 2024, and that is to help 500 people land a 100K tech sales job in 2024. We've already helped about 79 to 89 people, and I'm looking to help more people out. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to quickly interview my friend Chris, and his story is fascinating. Essentially, what happened with him was that in 2022, he graduated university and he did an accounting internship for like 3 to 6 months. He realized that he was making very little money, working his ass off, and he realized that that was a waste of time, and he wasn't really passionate about accounting. And he realized that he was very passionate about technology as well as communication and socializing and doing sales. So he went straight into a sales job after. Unfortunately, he picked the wrong type of sales to do. And I've talked about this a lot in the past. Any type of sales other than tech sales fundamentally is not a good idea, because he's selling a low value product with low value proposition with a low unique selling point, and it's a low selling price, which means on the commission side, you're not going to be making that much money. The reason I'm able to make 250K a year barely at 26 is because I sell $1 million product to the biggest companies on the planet, like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, etc. And that's how a lot of people get really successful and rich within tech sales. So I've met a lot of 25-year-olds and 30-year-olds that are making $1 million plus a year in tech sales. And that is because they sell expensive software to the biggest companies on the planet. So after realizing that he was in the wrong sales job, he quit straight after like 3 months of working there. And he joined my coaching program. We worked together for about 8 weeks. And in 2023, he landed his first ever 75K OTE tech sales SDR job within a really big tech company in Germany. And then amazingly, he did an amazing job at the company, over hit his targets, achieved his on target earnings, and now he got an offer for 150K as an account executive at another really big brand name company. So I just wanted to dive straight in and give you guys this opportunity to learn more about Chris, and we will ask him some questions as well. So before we dive in, Chris, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your background, and then we can dive straight into the questions after.
Yeah, sure, man. Happy to be here. Yeah, so basically, like you said, man, I was doing an accounting degree. Then I quickly worked in that field and realized I'm not gonna make big money there, and it's very exhausting, and the work is not fun. So I looked for alternatives. And obviously, I met you already in university, and I discovered sales, but I did it completely the wrong way. And you actually told me this is not a good idea. So I basically started working at an agency, making very little money, maybe like 30, 40,000
You're making
euros per
30K,
year.
yeah.
Yeah. It was really bad, man. It was just stressful. The customer wasn't buying. And then obviously, like quickly, I looked for other things, and that's when you came in and you told me to look into tech sales, and then you helped me out, like find the right companies, how to structure my CV, how to get actually interviews and then perform well in the interviews. And really quickly when working with you, I got so many offers, like it was incredible. And then I took obviously the best offer, got 75K OTE, and worked there for like around a year. And now I got this other amazing opportunity to work as an account executive for 150K at a really big company.
Yep.
And you helped me with the interview process, etc. And that's how I was able like to scale my income basically from 30K to 150K, like within a year basically.
That's amazing, man. That's such an amazing story. This is why I built this community, because nobody talks about tech sales. Everybody talks about finance, law, and the traditional careers that people have. And the other thing that Chris forgot to mention is that his job is fully remote. My job is fully remote. I work in London. We have an office, but I can be anywhere. Next month, I'm traveling to Bali. The month after that, I'm going to be traveling to Croatia. The month after that, I'm going to be traveling to New York City. The month after that, I'm going to be traveling to Brisbane. And I'm going to be traveling the whole world this year. Not because like I'm that cool fucking influencer or anything like that. It's simply because I have a good job that pays me a lot of money with a good commission on top, and I'm able to work fully remote, right? And Chris is
Yeah.
doing the same thing as well. So just to give you guys some perspective, Chris started off as an SDR, which is level 1 in the tech sales industry. And even as a level 1 person in the tech sales industry, he already doubled and a half his accounting salary. The big accounting firms like PwC, Deloitte, and all these companies pay graduates from Oxford and Cambridge $30,000 a year. And this was the path that Chris was on. And very quickly, he realized that that was a waste of time. So he got an SDR role, which is a sales development representative, level 1 within tech sales, doubled his salary, did really well. And now he doubled his salary to 150K a year, which is, again, just an amazing, amazing job. So really, really well done. Let's go back a little bit to what made you pick tech sales or sales as a career to go down compared to like other careers. Because I know you were looking into finance and accounting, but eventually, obviously, you switched over to sales and obviously tech sales. What was the thinking behind that? What are like the top 3 benefits that you see in terms of doing sales as a career than other careers like accounting and finance?
Yeah, sure, man. So first of all, like sales really develop your character. So you talk to important people, you improve your communication skills on a level that you would never be able to do in a finance or like a law career, for example. Because you literally talk to people every day. You have to convince them. You have to be like properly explaining the product, and then you also learn a lot of aspects on the technological side, which is very good as well because you actually gain some actual knowledge as well. And yeah, for me, man, it was an easy choice. Obviously, the salary is an important factor, and you can make a lot of money in tech sales. Like I think that's a well-known fact. And obviously like just being able to improve my communication skills, it boosts your confidence as well because like it really gets you out of your comfort zone, and I think that's like one thing very special to tech sales.
Absolutely.
And
So
then, yeah.
yeah, just to summarize what he said, fundamentally, it's like the money aspect, the communication aspect, and the fact that you're at the frontier of technology. That's the true beauty of tech sales. Like my journey basically took me from wanting to work in finance after university to going into sales, and then obviously going into tech sales. And now I work at the frontier of technology, selling AI software to the biggest companies on the planet. And I can see everything that's happening in the AI space at a high level, right? Because I am in that business and AI is taking all over, like taking the whole world over, right? And it's completely changing the world. So this is why I think tech sales is an amazing career and an amazing industry. So let's dive in a little bit deeper into let's compare your first sales job that you did, that agency sales, and why that was really bad. Why was that agency sales job really bad, and why did it suck so bad that made you want to quit that sales job? And then tell us a little bit about like the differences and compare that to your current tech sales job.
Yeah, sure, man. So one big difference obviously is that the product is much cheaper. Back then, like the product was maybe like 2000, something like this. So very cheap. Whereas if you work in software sales, it can go up like to 10K, 50K, 100K, like even for enterprise companies. So it's a different deal size. And obviously, if you make a sale, you just make a big deal basically. And then also, like with a normal product, like the benefit is very limited. Whereas like in tech sales with a software, it's a huge benefit for the customer. You can scale that quickly, so you can work with so many companies. It's so easy to sell that to a lot of companies. And then obviously as well, yeah, what else is there?
What about the pay aspect? The
Which
pay,
one?
the
Yeah,
pay
yeah,
between the agency sales and the tech sales.
yeah. The agency, obviously, I got paid much worse. Even the base was very low. The commission was also not amazing. And in the tech sales jobs, I had a high base salary and then also commission on top. And what I say as well is like when you work on the enterprise level, that's a big difference as well. Like back then I was like selling to small and medium-sized businesses, which can be okay, it can be fine, but like it has to be tech sales because otherwise there's not much money in there. And obviously the best would be to gradually move into enterprise level.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, I totally agree with what Chris is saying. Fundamentally, when I did my first sales job when I was like 22, straight out of university in 2020, I got paid 30,000 a year, very similar to what Chris was getting paid in his agency sales job. And in fact, the startup that I worked for, it was also an agency. So I was doing an agency sales job. And very quickly, I realized that we were selling a 5,000 a year, 10,000 a year product to small and medium-sized businesses. I wasn't making a big impact. Therefore, my salary was tiny. And then I realized that tech sales is where the 25-year-olds or 30-year-olds are making $1 million, $2 million, $3 million a year. So I spent a year interviewing hundreds of my friends, talking to hundreds of recruiters. And then what happened was in 2022, I got my big break. I went from a 30K a year sales job to working in an AI startup as a founding account executive, so like a founding salesperson at that company. And immediately I tripled my salary from 30K a year to over 100K a year. And then I left that company after being there for about 2 years. Then I realized, again, what Chris is saying, you want to move up the value chain. You want to go always and sell to enterprise. So I left that company in 2024. I spent 2 months interviewing with hundreds of companies, talking to hundreds of recruiters. And then I found one of the biggest AI companies. I'm not going to name the company, but it's as big as OpenAI, Google Gemini, Anthropic, and it's one of the leaders in this space. And essentially what we do is we sell a really expensive software for anywhere between $1 to $12 million a year to the biggest companies on the planet. So I get paid $250K. That sounds like a lot of money, but that's because I'm selling a $12 million a year product to the biggest companies on the planet. So I get a tiny percentage of that, and I still make a lot of money. And the amazing thing is, there's like 25-year-olds, 26-year-old account executives in my current company, even 28-year-olds, making over $1 million a year. Now, that blew my mind, because when you watch a TV show or a movie, or when you watch someone like Andrew Tate or one of these influencers, you think that you have to be a business owner or an influencer or an actor or a criminal to make over $1 million a year at 25 or 29. But there are people doing that every single day in tech sales. People are doing that in my company. And I'm sure, Chris, at your new job, because it's a much bigger company, and now that you're an account executive, I'm sure there's a lot of 25-year-olds doing those kind of numbers. What's been your experience working at the new company in terms of how much are people making there at the highest levels?
Yeah, the same as you said, man. Like some people actually make really, really big money there. And it's crazy to see, man. I also didn't think it was possible. Yeah, but like you said, man, there's a few people actually making $1 million, and that's definitely possible. Also 500K, like those salaries can be possible.
That's amazing. Yeah, absolutely. So tell us a little bit more about, like, before we worked together. So how many interviews did you land? How many job offers did you land? What kind of tricks and strategies you were implementing to land a tech sales job? And tell me a little bit more about how I helped you, how our coaching program helped you, how I personally helped you to get the dream job that you got in the end.
Yeah, sure, man. So obviously in the beginning, I was very lost. I didn't knew much about sales. I was also looking at the wrong places because obviously it's not so transparent. Like obviously you have so much experience, for you it's easy right now, but like from an outsider perspective, it's very hard to navigate through those waters because you don't know, like a lot of times you don't know, is this a good company? Is this a good opportunity? So yeah, and I fucked it up in the first place. But then when I was working with you, everything got better. Like in the beginning, I was not landing any interviews actually. It was really bad, and I didn't know why. But then when we improved my CV, when you actually told me, okay, which companies to apply for, you even like brought me into contact with some recruiters. Like I got so many interviews. So I was interviewing for like 1 or 2 months with like so many companies, maybe like 20 companies. And from there on, I got like maybe 5 offers.
Amazing, amazing.
Yeah, yeah. So I was able to just pick the best company where I felt like the best, and that was like a crazy change for me because I was so frustrated already, like not being able before to land any interview or like even get an offer.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So again, what we do in the coaching program is I work with people like Chris who are a little bit young. They just finished university. They don't know anything about tech sales. They want to get into the industry, but they've been trying for the last 6 months, 3 months. I've even had guys in my coaching program that spent 1.5 years trying to get a tech sales job, and that guy is still failing to get a tech sales job. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? What seems to be the problem? He says to me, for the past 1.5 years, every single day, I apply to 10 jobs a day on Indeed. And I'm like, dude, that's where you messed up. You've been applying to 10 jobs a day on Indeed, which is the worst place ever to look for a tech sales job. So I help a lot of young people that are new to tech sales, and I basically work with them on an 8-week process. through our group coaching program. And I basically hold their hand, screen share, copy and paste, duplicate everything that I've been doing for the last 6 years to land a $250,000 tech sales job, and I give it to them. So we work together on a one-to-one basis, on a group coaching basis, give them all the resources, all the way from how do you set up your CV, how do you make your LinkedIn profile look good, how do you get in touch with recruiters, how do you pass the interview process, how do you negotiate an offer, what are the good aspects to look for in a good company. And then that's exactly what I did with Chris. And again, he went from a 30K a year, really bad sales agency type of job to 150K a year tech sales job at one of the biggest companies on the planet. And this company is so big, I'm not going to mention the name, but you probably see their products all over the world, and you probably use their products. So again, he's got a really bright future ahead of him. Now, let's talk a little bit about what the future looks like for you right now, Chris, because you said at your current company, there are people making 500K, over $1 million a year. What do you want to be doing in the next few years? What does that look like for you? What do you want to be doing in your career next?
Yeah, sure, man. So obviously I want to work with enterprise customers. I just want to perform, and then obviously after a few years, you can take over a team as well. You can just progress into becoming like a team leader, and then from there on, you can become like a sales basically revenue officer, like CRO. Yeah, or like basically head of sales. You can, and from there on, like you literally have every possibility open. You can just go into a startup, for example, just build up a whole sales team. Like if you have that experience, like you can literally work in every company, because the people who generate the money are the salespeople. And if you possess that skill, you're very valuable to a lot of companies out there.
Yeah, totally, man. That's my goal as well. So right now I'm at $250,000 a year this year on target earnings. The base is 100K. I just want to make sure that people don't think I'm getting a base of 250K, because that's very misleading. For me, the goal for 2024 is to get to an even bigger company and sell even a more expensive product to the biggest companies on the planet, and get to a $500,000 on target earnings with a $250,000 base salary, and maybe even move to the US, because I feel like tech sales, especially in America, these guys make 5 times, 10 times more than people in Europe. I mean, obviously you're based in Germany, I'm based in the UK, and it always feels like people in America in tech just get paid a lot more money. And actually, one of the first people that I ever spoke to, this is like my origin story of how I actually found out about tech sales. So back in 2023, I was running like an online business, was working at my tech sale at my job back in 2022. And what happened was I met this guy online. He actually used to have a tech sales community as well. His name is Tom Tech Sales. And I go to him, dude, like I was going to sell him my product basically. And I got to know him a little bit. And he goes to me, dude, I work at Google in America. And he was probably 30, 31 at the time. And I'm like, how much are you making right now? He's like, I'm making more than $500,000 a year. And my head was like, ah! My head was like completely blown. I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing? Why am I working on a little side hustle? Why am I working at a random sales agency business for a little agency? Why am I doing sales there? Why am I not getting into like tech sales? So he really became my first ever like mentor slash friend in the whole tech sales sphere. And I'm sure a lot of people that are watching this today, they probably already know Tom Tech Sales. So that's just a little bit of like an origin story. What would you say to people that are like trying to break into tech sales now? What would be like your top 3 tips in breaking into tech sales as a fresh graduate or someone who's young, who doesn't have any tech sales background or experience?
Yeah, sure, man. So you definitely have to present yourself well. That starts with like having a good CV. Then, like what I would suggest is don't waste your time on companies that will not bring you any benefit. Like you have to be a little bit strategic about which companies you apply for, because obviously the first companies are very important for your careers. And if you pick a bad one, you just waste time, and then also it looks bad on a CV as well. So that's why I feel like the more guidance you have, the better. Just know what you're doing. And obviously in the interviews, you have to convince them that you can actually sell the product. So you have to know, for example, how to do a cold call. You have to know how would you structure an email. What would be your sales strategy as well? Like those things you should be knowing.
Absolutely. I totally agree. I mean, if you're brand new and you're trying to break into tech sales, the first thing is make sure your CV looks really good. Get some templates. You can join our Discord community for free and get those templates in the Discord. Fix up your LinkedIn profile. the thing that worked for me extremely effectively was talking to recruiters on LinkedIn. And in fact, the 250K a year job that I have right now is through the recruiter that put me in touch with them. So with recruiters on LinkedIn, if you just connect with like 10 of them a day, in a month from now, you're going to have 50 interviews. And there's an entire process attached to that, obviously, but it really comes down to making sure that your CV looks good, making sure that your LinkedIn profile looks good, and then get in touch with like 5 to 10 recruiters a day. And you should be able to get interviews like extremely quickly, right?
Yes, yes. Like
Yeah.
getting the first interview shouldn't be too hard. Then obviously performing well in the interview and actually getting an offer, that's a little bit more difficult. And that's also where you have to prove that you have the abilities, that you know something about sales. Because obviously nobody wants like a rookie who doesn't know anything. Like
Yeah.
you kind of have to be a little bit prepared. So that's like the biggest hurdle, I would say. And then also picking the right company, because one process can be 3 interviews, can sometimes be even 5 interviews. So you will be wasting a lot of time if you interview with the wrong companies.
Yeah,
And also,
totally.
if you don't get any offers in the end, bro, like, you will just feel bad after like having 5 interviews and you don't land the job. Like you
Yeah.
will just feel bad and
Yeah, no,
frustrated.
absolutely. Yeah, I think for me was this is why I created this community, because I went through so much pain and rejection. I had like 100 interviews. I got rejected every single time. And until I actually worked with some mentors and some friends who helped me, who prepped me and worked with me in terms of improving my interview skills, I wasn't able to land any jobs. But when I worked with these guys, these mentors and programs that I joined, massively helped me to actually land interviews and land opportunities. And this is why I created this Discord, because I don't want other people to go through that pain of not landing interviews or not converting jobs into interviews into jobs. One thing that he kept saying was like picking the right company. And that's like one of the most important things. So my general rule of thumb is like when you're just out of college, you want to go to a big tech company like Google, like Amazon, like Adobe, like AWS, like Dell, like Oracle, like Meta, whatever, one of those big tech companies for a few reasons. Number one, they pay a lot of money. Number two, they have really good training and sales training and sales methodologies that they train you on. Number three, they're a huge brand name and are verified and vetted, and every person, every recruiter in the world knows them. So if you work at those companies for like 1 to 2 years, your job of getting a better, higher paying job in 2 years after that at a more niche company or startup will be 1,000 times easier. That's the first thing I would say. The second thing I would say is if you're trying to break into the sales industry, don't do commission only sales. I'll tell you a crazy story. Okay, I have a really good friend. He was a high flying lawyer. He's still a very young guy. He's like 25 or something. He was basically a commercial lawyer in London, making over £120,000 a year. He was on a career path to make over $500,000 to $1 million a year by the time he was 30. So he was guaranteed to be a multimillionaire. But he didn't like law. He hated law. He was like, this is boring. I just write emails all day. He wanted to break into sales. And he quit his job. He quit a 120K a year law job. And he basically moved to Dubai to do a commission only real estate sales job. And I just slapped him across the face. I'm like, dude, you just wasted your career. You're done. You're never going to make money again. And the reason I said that is because he still hasn't made any money, by the way. And he quit that job a few months after being there, is because commission only sales jobs don't pay you any base salary. And they hire anyone with no qualification. There's no sales training. There's no training methodologies. There is no value proposition, unique selling point to that business, to that product. Don't do commission only jobs. Don't do multi-level marketing jobs. These multi-level marketing sales jobs, they literally sell to the dumbest people on the planet. And coming from a poor background, from an immigrant background from Afghanistan, we grew up in Birmingham, and you get a lot of dumb people in Birmingham, right? And I had a lot of people that I knew that did multi-level marketing sales jobs, and they were like trying to convince me, you will learn a lot about sales, you will make a lot of money. And 3 months after doing that job, you see them and you talk to them and they're completely broke, because
Yeah.
fundamentally that business model has been created to make you fail. So I just wanted to emphasize that, because a lot of people that join the Discord community ask me about, shall I take this commission only job? Should I do this MLM multi-level marketing job? No, you dumb moron. You shouldn't be doing that. Like, are you retarded? So I just wanted to emphasize that. With regards to your goals for 2024, Chris, we will end off the call in a second. But now that you're on 150K tech sales job, which is a lot of money, especially in Europe, what are some goals that you have for your personal life or your self-development or job or career? Tell us a little bit more, and then we'll end the call off after this.
Yeah, sure, man. Yeah, obviously, like there's a lot of levels to like being good at sales. Like it's a very complicated thing. You always learn stuff. Like it's crazy how much you learn, not only about communication, but also like how like to send out mails, how to talk with the client, how to actually negotiate contracts. There's so much things going in. And then obviously at some point you also work together with the product team. So you basically tell them, well, that's bad. That's what customers complaining about. Like we have to change this and that. So it becomes a very strategic role, and you basically take a very strategic position in the company, and you actually change the product for the better as well. Especially if you're up in the sales like level, like they will ask you like, what's the customer saying? What can we improve? Like there is so much potential, so many interesting topics that come along with this sales career. I think that's where I'm heading to basically a little bit. So really improving the business, really working on the business, not just sales, but like just, you know, taking like a crucial part of being a crucial part of the business basically and
Mhm.
shaping it.
Absolutely. I totally agree. I mean, even in my current job, I'm working at the biggest AI company at the frontier of technology. And every single day I talk to the smartest engineers in the world. And I'm basically telling them, this is what the customer said. This is what the customer said. This is the product market fit. This is the market that we should be selling to. This is our value proposition. This is our unique selling point. This is our competitors. And I'm shaping $1 trillion industry at a small level, obviously. But that's the fascinating thing about working in tech sales. What would you say is like your main goals for the year? Because I know that you've recently started another business as well. Because the reason I ask this is, unlike other traditional careers like finance and law, when you work 14, 16-hour days, and that is a fact. I have a lot of friends that work in finance. My ex-roommate worked at Goldman Sachs. My girlfriend used to be a commercial lawyer. These guys are always working 24/7 for 100K a year. So they have no life, they have no side hustles, they have no passions or interests outside of work. But in tech sales, because it's remote, I'm running a coaching business. This is my coaching business. And I know that Chris recently started a coaching business to help other people with anxiety and stuff like that. Tell us a little bit more about that and what else you get into outside of work. What are some of your passions and interests?
Yeah, sure, man. That's really one good point about being in tech sales. Like you really still have some free time. You don't need to work crazy hours. And
Yeah.
it also makes sense because the customers obviously they don't work so long and you don't have to work so long either. So that's really good. And then also times are very flexible. Like it's a very flexible job actually if you do it properly. And yeah, man, I just work on my business on the side. I like to work out in the gym. I like to go running, and I like to go to meet some friends as well. And what I don't like is, you know, feeling exhausted from the day, not having any energy, and then also no time to actually like do something fun. And with tech sales, you get like the best of both worlds. You still get good money,
Yeah.
but you also have still a life that you can enjoy.
Yeah, totally, man. And I mean, again, a lot of my friends are doing finance. These guys are literally spending their 20s in a fucking boardroom. I don't want to be spending my 20s in a boardroom. I want to be going to the craziest places in the world. I want to meet with celebrities. I want to meet the craziest people. I want to hang out with creators. I want to meet presidents. I want to do the craziest shit in my 20s. I don't want to be in an office working on a spreadsheet. I don't do that. Okay. What I do is I pitch our product to the biggest companies on the planet. Yesterday, I pitched our product to Facebook. The day before, we pitched our product to another company that I can't mention because I'll get in trouble. But the other day, we pitched our product to YouTube, Instagram, and the biggest companies on the planet. I'm pitching our product to them, and these are billion-dollar companies, and a 26-year-old is pitching a $10 million a year contract to them, and I find that fascinating. Next month, we have our yearly trip to meet the rest of the team because the team is spread out across the world. We're going to Japan. We're going to New York. The team did that last year, and we're going to do that again this year. So these are the fascinating things that I'm able to do. And I'm able to travel all over the world. Like I said, this year, I'm going to be going to about 30 to 40 countries because I don't have to be here. And on top of that, this year, I'm going to be buying multiple properties because I'm able to have that money from my job. I'm able to save it. I'm able to buy properties. So by the time that I'm 30, 35, I have a net worth of like a couple of million. My salary is in the millions, or my equity in the business is in the millions. I'm able to build my coaching business. So these are just some of the benefits of being in tech sales. And this industry is super underrated. This is why I created this community. So if you loved this interview, please leave a comment, share it with your friends, leave a like. Chris, thank you so much for your time, bro. If people want to connect with you, do you want to share your TikTok information? Because I know you have a TikTok channel. They can follow you if they want. If you don't want to share that, that's completely fine as well.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine, man. I don't want to take your customers away. No, it's fine.
No worries.
But yeah, thank you, man. Thank you for the interview. And then also thanks, obviously, like for all the help, like for guiding me through this very complicated business, basically, and the water. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Well, look, man, have an amazing rest of your day, and I will see you in the group chat on Discord.
Yeah, man.
Take care.
Have a nice evening too. See you. Bye.
Cheers.